So if you were to generalize and estimate what the most likely thing is that somebody would fear, there are those that would argue it's the unknown, not knowing what's going to happen when you're in a situation. And I think this question kind of hits on that in terms of what is it that inherently makes people afraid of nuclear science? And because we know the atomic bomb survivors had an increased probability of cancer with an increase in dose, that model at those higher doses is quite clearly linear, meaning that smaller doses will have a smaller probability of inducing cancer. Well, there is no measurement evidence that when you get down near background or even higher than background, that you're still going to get cancer induction, but that doesn't mean that it's not there. And so this unknown can really terrify people. Even though there's no measurable evidence and we have some very sensitive measurement capability, that doesn't mean that it's not there. So the logic might ensue, well, let's just avoid it all. The problem with that is in spending money to do that. If you're talking about reducing your background radiation exposure and you're going to spend $1 million to do that, you really need to think through that clearly if that's what you want your tax dollars to go to. In the sense that with a non-measurable effect, you're spending money when you could spend money on a measurable effect, like social programs, education, medical attention for things that we can actually see and measure and touch. And so spending money at these ranges where people are generally saying, you know, not in my backyard, no nuclear, shut down all the nuclear plants, and spending money to avoid these really small doses really begs that question, right? What are we doing with our resources as a society when we're not taking advantage of the technology that will allow us to have a greenhouse gas-free, sustainable technology? My preference would be uranium extraction from seawater due to erosion, but the point still remains. The lowest doses that we've seen are around 10 rem. Now, the EPA evacuation recommendation starts at only 1 rem, meaning 10 times below what's measurable. They're going to recommend people evacuate, assuming this same model of linear extrapolation down to 0. And you might approve of that and you might not approve of that. But again, it comes down to the economical consequences, because we know that there are psychosomatic effects that can occur, psychosocial effects that can occur due to this unknown, not knowing what's going to happen for small doses. And it can affect a lot of people, and it's happened quite dramatically at Fukushima. A lot of money for no effect. So something to think about when you start taking these approaches to spend enormous amounts of money to avoid small doses. Hope that